Alright guys, we're wrenching on the XRS today. We are replacing the stock oil pan for the Moroso from Monkey Wrench Racing. We got the old one out already. It's just 10mm bolts all the way around. And the reason we want to replace this guy is because in cornering, this guy has no baffling, and oil could get sent all the way to the sides and potentially leave the oil pickup in air, which could be catastrophic. So we'll take a look underneath here. I was just letting it drip, but we got it all off. Had to get kind of cute around this cross member here with swivels and extensions on the back bolts up here. But we got it off, and then it's just breaking the gasketing free once you get the bolts off. And these top two are actually nuts, so everything else is bolts and then nuts up top. And then I gotta find a way to get these studs out, and then we're gonna clean with a razor blade up this gasketing up here, and then we'll get the new one on. I'm changing the oil obviously while we're at it. Not bad. I'll keep you guys posted. Alright, so we ran into a small barrier here. This tray was sitting underneath kind of like this, affixed by 4 bolts. It's called the windage tray, I guess. And it was affixed by 10 mils here, 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 here. And what I needed to do was actually get the only Torx bit I've ever even seen on this car. Let's see, what is it? It's an E5 to get the studs out. And those are sitting right there with the 10 mils they were connected to. 2 were bolts, 2 were studs. So I'm thinking that I do not need to retain that. The instructions say you can keep it, and you may or may not have to hammer it out. I don't really want to hammer this thing and, you know, create looser metal in this oil pan than I need to. And there's a tray in the Moroso one that's going in, so I'm probably just going to run without it, and we'll give her a test fit right now. Alright guys, here is the final product of the Moroso oil pan install on the XRS. So there are 16 studs that need to go in, and then 16 nuts on the other side. Some of them are tough to get at, so you can't get the 80 inch-pound torque spec on every one, but I was probably able to get the torque spec right on 90% of them. These ones are tough right here with this cross beam. If you want to go through the trouble of taking this cross beam out, then you can do that. But let me see, get this light on. Those guys were pretty difficult. We're not able to get the torque wrench in there. And these guys, the torque wrench couldn't quite fit on either. Not bad, so we're going to let this cure for 24 hours. And then we'll add oil and see if it holds. So here's a rundown of everything I used. I used Permatex high temp gasket maker. It should be good to 650 degrees. So that's what we used. We had our 80 inch-pound torque wrench, 10 mils on all the nuts. Extensions, I use the T-bar a lot to get to the different nuts. Number 3 metric Allen key for all the studs. Some of them I couldn't reach, so I used the 10 mil wrench, and this little mini ratchet was really helpful with a 10 millimeter on it. You see how it's very shallow there, so that was super helpful. And then we scraped up the extra gasket that squeezed out of the side so it didn't create a huge mess with the scraper, and then Sharpie to mark everything that I torqued down, because there's 16 of them. I found myself losing track. So that's what we used. So we'll let it cure for 24 hours and add oil. All right, guys, we just ran it for a good 5 minutes. Let it hit temps. The oil pan is nice and hot right now. The gasket appears to be holding up well with no apparent leaks. The real test is going to be when we get into some cornering. One thing to note with the Moroso is the drain plug is now a metric 8 Allen key. So don't know how I feel about that being an Allen key instead of just a regular bolt, but so far it looks good. I'm going to lower her down and get this engine covering back on. We'll continue to monitor this for leaks and see how it does. I'm pumped to have this in. Thanks for watching.